Years ago, I remember working in a factory, and it wasn't long. I didn't stay there long, maybe 2 years or something. But it was in this moment, it was in that moment, I'm sorry, in my life that I realized some things about human behavior. Some of those things I could not understand because I myself had always come from a different type of framing. Wasn't how I was raised. I was raised in that typical fashion of, respect your elders and, try to be mindful of others and all that stuff. But no, I'm not talking about that. There was something deeper in my conscious soul that made me want more for my own mind and my own reasoning about things, right? Of course, obviously, as a child, I would fight the bullies or I would do certain things because I was taking a stance. I believed I was doing something right and making a difference. And I guess I was, right? I'm sure that the little girl that I defended on the playground, I'm sure she still remembers to this day, the action I took or something. Maybe I helped her in her life on some level, you know. But, and I'm getting off the point here, but when I worked this job, I saw a lot of the lowest level of people that you can imagine. They were duplicitous. They had extreme egos. They were petty. I mean, just the things that, you just would look at a person and you would just really, it would be crazy, right? Some of the stuff that these people would do and the way they would behave, it would be irrational. But everyone would go along with this thing, right? Because instead of them having or exercising their own reasons, they would literally just try to fit in. And that to me, I think that's a sign of intelligence. I don't know what you guys think, but I'm not talking about intellect or that type of intelligence. 2 + 2 = 4 and so on, and those kind of things. I'm not speaking in formulas here. I'm speaking in housed in your emotional intelligence, your ability to reason in your own heart about things that just don't make any sense. So I would have these narcissists on the job and, and we just worked in the factory. I mean, we weren't doing anything but like putting stuff together and packaging or something. So it wasn't like we were doing a whole lot that required a lot of skill or thinking or something. We were working for a business and and this is what we were supposed to do. But we had people who would be appointed over us, these leaders, who were really in their emotional hearts, just low-level people. And you would wonder, how did they get this job? Because they didn't have that abstract reasoning that I'm talking about. They were meathead people. So I would have people at this job, I didn't say much. I just came to work. I told you, I've never been that type of person. I would come to work, do my job, go home. It's just a paycheck. I don't have an ego when I'm working for a company or something, there's no pride in something I didn't build myself. I'm just working there. So I always harbored that mindset. But the people around me, they were just so low in their hearts and emotions. They wanted to be something. They wanted to be seen as something. And see, that goes back to the framing of childhood. Maybe their parents beat them down a lot. There are reasons for everything, folks. And some of these people, maybe they've gotten beaten down too much in their lives. And this is why we deal with the low grade people in society and today. But these people would do certain things like, I can remember this guy. I call him Meathead. I can't even remember this guy's name, but I'll just call him Meathead for the purpose of this story. But this guy, he would do just the craziest stuff. He would obviously, he had extreme behaviors. One day he would be trying to talk to me or something. We'd be on the assembly thing doing something. I can remember he just talked me to death and I wouldn't have anything to say. I just agree with him, nod my head or keep working or something. But he would try to tell me his whole life. And that's what I was telling you folks about these people who will try to pick your brain and try to get into your, into your mind to see who you are or understand you, how they could play you better because they're narcissistic. But this guy would talk to me, and then the next day he would be completely different, opposite of what he was. He would be callous. He would, I could say, hey, how you doing? Just in passing. And this guy, on the way to the time clock or something, this guy would just be, he would just act like I've never met him before. And so after a couple of times of that, my heart would not allow me to be as low as he was. I did not want to keep playing that game. So I just cut him off. I didn't have anything to say to him. I'm just getting a paycheck. You know? So this guy would get upset and he would do special things like he would, you know, like we all park in the parking lot or something, you know, and every day, you know, there wasn't a allotted amount of spaces for this particular apartment I worked in. And everybody would just get to work. And, you know, and most people, we're creatures of habit. You know, most humans would park in the same spot every day. Everybody honored it. It wasn't like it was my parking space or something like that, but we all would do stuff like that. And this guy, you know, and he would do something to you like I just described. And then because of how you responded to him, he's like a child. He would be really petulant. He's like a child, you know. And now when I look back on it, I feel sorry for the guy. But at the time, that was my best way of dealing with this stuff. Because I was only going to be there for a short while. But, you know, and so because of that, he would literally, you know, come in the, you know, park his car, his little beat up ride or something. He would park in the space that I would park in, right? And he would do that every morning because he was trying to get a rise out of me. Then he would walk up to me and, you know, hey, how you doing? Good morning. And I would just look at him and just turn my head because I'm a grown-up. You know, I was a grown-up then, right? We were young, but still, we were grown-ups, right? And I never let that affect me. But just because of him trying to do that to purposely affect my emotions, that's what I'm talking about, these low-level spirits and people. You know, I just couldn't understand what type of person lives their life for such foolishness. Now, then I had the supervisor over us who would also be that way, you know. They would literally, you know, because we worked the same schedule every week. If the factory would open up, we would do our jobs and go home. So my supervisor didn't really need to make a schedule for me, but they would do it anyway, just to do it, you know, because they wanted to feel like they were someone. So whatever, you know, but there were times when they may be out sick or something, and I would just have to make my own schedule. So then they would call me, you know, into the office like maybe the next day if I had done it, if I was coming on my own, I can remember, and they would say, you know, you should have called me about your schedule. And I'm like, I'm here, right? You weren't here, right? Nope. I'm like, okay, I showed up, right? And so if you're not at work, then I don't know if you had a death in the family. I'm not sure if you're you know, really, really sick or something. There are all types of things. And if I'm there doing a job, what reason would you have to even bring it up? So I'm trying to show you people that the ego rules low-level people because that's all they have, you know. They don't have a creative spirit. They couldn't start a business if they tried, right? If they wanted to, because they don't have that. They're just meatheads, like I started out with, you know. You can put them on the front line in a war. You can do whatever, and they'll just do it because these are those type of people. And these are the type of people who seem to become our bosses and on jobs or whatever. They just have this framing that they have. But I notice all of them are assholes, and they're not good in their emotional spirits, right? So I had to really think about that. I had to give us some thought. I remember this guy. You know, I don't know what the hell he's doing now. You know, I don't know how, you know, but I just remember this guy doing things like that. I remember him always trying to do something to stir my emotions, right? And you know, he wouldn't do it to anyone else because I guess these people just weren't the type of people that I was. And I guess something was special about me that you know, my energy was just extremely good for him. And he just wanted to, you know, just feed off of me. But I learned that early on not to play this game. And so I didn't. And I recommend you folks on your jobs and your workspaces now to do the same, to not play into these low-level people. You know, maybe you don't have a spirit of starting a business. Fine. Work your job. But that's what I keep telling you folks. You're just a cog in the wheel. Work your jobs. Get a paycheck. Go home. Right? If you're appointed some type of authority, just take that job. You know, take the extra money or something. But don't let that rule your egos. Don't let that become who you are. Silly. I love bad behavior people. But I love people, you know, who have good hearts. Right? And I don't mean being a patron saint or something. I don't mean all of this stuff. I mean people who are they just have sense. They have emotional sense. They understand that they do under others things. It just makes sense to them. You know, they don't have to know 2 plus 2 all the time, but just how they are, the happiness in their own selves is how they create a world that makes it better for you. Just think about this. So you folks, like the video, I always say like the videos, because, this is YouTube. And share them. I do want you to share them, more importantly, because this is how we get that understanding. Now, maybe a lot of meatheads aren't going to receive these messages. Okay, great. But for the people like us, you know who you are. Let's do that. Let's do it. You guys have a nice day.